Hey, it's Ronald Polius. 3 years ago, I was a school bus driver. In 24, I was a high school teacher. I've since quit and I'm full time in real estate. Joined Sub 2, I've joined Owners Club. And when I started in 24, I didn't know anything about a deal, how to find one, what that looked like. I was on YouTube University for some time, just like you are now. And 3 years in, here in 2026, I'm able to do a full deal walkthrough on a deal I took down, I purchased, doing a fix and flip, as you could see here. Flooring, you probably can't, but flooring literally is being placed. And so this is a live deal. We're gonna do a live walkthrough. So let's get to the nitty gritty. Where I found the lead. This was a foreclosure lead that I got directly from the county, meaning the Oklahoma County said this deal or this property just entered the foreclosure process. And so I started to do my research and started knocking. What I found out as I did my research was the owner of this was deceased. So now probate's involved. So there's another layer of complexity. I knocked this door. It was vacant. And so I did some more searching and digging. Shout out to my assistant, Daniel Shirk. He actually found a bunch of information on this lead. This lead is actually out of my buy box. But my assistant did some digging and said there might be an opportunity here because of the added layer of probate or someone being deceased. So I knocked the door, the door of the heir, and the guy literally was in his garage having some enjoyment time after work, like drinking a beer and watching TV or something. And I showed up like, hey, I was like, hello. I said, hey, so I'm Ronald. I help homeowners stop foreclosures. I saw that a foreclosure was started on a relative of yours, like maybe a dad, and saw he passed away. Sorry about the loss. But the banks, they're getting ready to sell it at auction. And he said, okay, he was a little standoffish at first. Like, how many random people show up at your garage door saying, hey, you got a house in foreclosure? Not many. Anyways, I was able, through having conversation and being cool about it and having an attitude of like, this is what I do. I just show up at people's homes and I help solve these. And when it's a relative that passed away, I help people like you get money out of it. So we had conversations. I showed him all the proof. I showed him the court docket, the foreclosure. He's like, okay, yeah, you kind of know what you're talking about. What I found out was probate was already started on his end, which helped me because he already had it going. We had details going in October, started having conversations. We did a walkthrough and negotiations started. This is where it got really fun. I walked it first with the guy, and he was really like open and excited, and he was already counting his money. He's like, man, if I could get enough just to pay off my boat, put some money in my pocket, share some money with my brother, and we're good. We had that walkthrough. He came back later and said, I want to do another walkthrough with an aunt of his, a relative. I said, okay, let's do it. He said, yeah, she's a little bit more business minded than I am, and I don't know numbers. I don't understand this stuff. I said, okay, that's fine. We did this walkthrough, and the tone shifted. 180. The guy he had his hands crossed when before we were joking and laughing. His aunt's here, and she is stone cold. She said, I don't, I try to pull out numbers. I use all my negotiation tactics as implication questions, situation questions, need payoff questions. I got all those answers. But when it was time to make an offer and extract a number from her and him, he several times said, we're not going to give you a number. Guys, this was the hardest negotiations I've ever had. At one point I said, okay, well, you're clearly a good negotiator. I'm not giving a number. Like, where are you at? And she was like, I don't feel comfortable. I'm not giving a number. Give your offer. So it took me a couple of days. Like I said, it was the hardest negotiations I've ever had. And I said to myself, this lady's going to kill the deal. She's going to kill the deal. And so I sent an email, and I hate doing that because I want to get the contract while I'm there live with the person. And because of the aunt that is not involved, I got to send an offer. They got to look at it and think about it and talk to an attorney if it's a. It was all hogwash. She was just being stone cold because she wanted a certain number. I sent an offer, and I said I had to be around this range, and I forget, it was around 100 something. But there was a low enough payoff on this that they were gonna net probably 90 to 100K in their pocket. Well, we had conversations. I sent that offer, and I got on the phone with the heir, the actual heir, without his aunt involved. And I said, your aunt is amazing. I wish I could hire her and she can do negotiations for me, because she was stone cold. And he giggled, or not giggled, but man laughed, ha ha ha, and was like, yeah, that's why I get her involved, because she's just amazing. And so I said to him, okay, you clearly don't like my offer, because he responded and said, we're gonna probably go another route, like this is too low. So I got on the phone with him and I said, okay, I revealed my cards, what are yours? And he said that I have to be around. He said, my dad bought this for probably about like 230. I said, okay. And he said, I feel like 240 would get us there. No, I think he said, I feel like 250 or 245 would get us there. And I said, okay. So what was the thought process? And he said, well, I want to get some of the equity. I mean, this is in need of a bunch of work. I said, okay, well, what if I meet you at 240? What if I met you at halfway? He's like, yeah, that would work. So I got this in the contract for $240,000. This was one of the most hardest negotiations that I had. I pulled out everything out of my pockets, and I got a good number, even though it was the hardest. So let's do a number walkthrough. So we kind of talked about where I found the lead, foreclosure. Yes, in your county, in your city, you can go to the county, extract foreclosure data that's available to the public. One person said, hey, I got to pay 50 cents for each one I buy or each one I get. And I asked them, you got to ask yourself, is 50 cents worth a really highly motivated lead? After you look at these numbers, you might say yes. Let's look at them. So this house, we're going to look at what is called the ARV on this. So the ARV, so this is the after repair value, meaning after I fix this house up, I think I can sell it for $525,000. Now, I times what this ARV is times 70%. Well, why 70%? Because I want to have 30% divvied up in two ways, okay? The first way is profit, and then the second way I want this divvied up is what is called holding costs. And the reason I want this divvied up this way is because I want to have margin in the deal for my profit, meaning I hope I can make this much. And then I want to have the deal finance its own holding costs, okay? So this is kind of, or not holding, so holding costs is involved in this, and also what I think I will have to pay to sell the property. So we got regulatory fees on the back end. That's 3% for the buyer, 3% for the seller. And then I'm holding this for 6 months. And if I went 6 months on this project, I'd be paying $17,658. I don't want to go 6 months on this project, but if I do, it's all baked in. If you do the math on this, it is, let's do it real quick. So 525 times 70% minus repair. Oh, that's one thing I didn't talk about. So repairs. Repairs is in this formula because that's what I think I can sell it for times 70% times or subtract repairs. This is as much of a discount I want, if you will. So 70% of what this could sell for minus the repairs, which gets us this number, $252,000. MAO means maximal allowable offer, meaning if I think rehab will be $115,000 and I'm at a 70% formula, then I can buy this as high as 252 and still make this projected, okay, this projected profit, which is 78,750. Now, the contract price that I got, this is a big reveal. The contract price that I have is is 240. Oh, I already mentioned that. The reason I want to be below my MAO is because you never know what happens on a project. you just never know. And I'm gonna talk about some things that have happened on this project. My camera guy's laughing because he's been in on it. And so I'm 12K. The difference here is 12K of margin, meaning if stuff happens, I can still potentially make this projected profit. Other buyers and fix and flippers, they use the same formula, but they change the 70%. And so what they do is 70% times 525, which is ARV, times 75%, and then they subtract repairs, and they could buy it MAO at 278,750, which means, guys, another flipper in this same market that I am in would buy this same deal $30,000 higher than what I would buy it for or would want to buy it for. Now, let's see their projected profit. 525 times 10. Okay. And you can kind of already see it. 52,500. Guys, that's $26,000 and $250,000 lower than what I bought this for in using the formula I use. The reason that this formula is so vital at 70, like Ronald, would you be happy if you made 52,500? Yeah, I would be. That'd be amazing. But that is if everything goes right. And I'm already in this project and some things have gone wrong. And so what that means is if you say are out $10,000 because something happened on the construction side you didn't expect, it eats out of your profit, okay? Because this right here are fixed costs. You gotta sell it, and if you pay a realtor, you might could get a discount 1%, 1.5. So you sell it, buyer's realtor, seller's realtor, and then the other thing I forgot here was closing costs. Those are fixed, 1 to 2% for closing costs. Then the mortgage and utilities, those are fixed. You can't get rid of those. And so what that means is if mistakes happen, if the project goes longer than expected, it only eats out of your profit. And if you only have 10% for profit, I mean, you can go down really quick to $20,000. And so you're gonna do a big headache of a project to only make $20,000. Now I wanna come over here and I wanna break down real quick how I borrowed this money. So this is a big ninja strategy. So if you're not there yet, that's totally fine. You'll get there as you do this. If you're already doing deals, you're gonna love this. So my mortgage and my utilities are paid every single month, right? And my mortgage is about $3,000 a month. Okay, and so with it being $3,000 a month, I have to pay that every single month. So what I do is I borrowed $70K from what's called hard money, and I use that for my rehab. But then I borrowed some additional money, $45K, from what is called a private money lender. And I got all of that up front to finance the mortgage and help the project go along and go a little bit quicker on the front end. My $70K from my hard money, I'm extracting through draws. So I don't have just $70K in my bank account right now for this project. What my lender will do is come and say, hey, we need to make sure flooring's down. It's getting down right now. Okay, you get a draw. We're gonna make sure it needs painted. It gets painted, and this is that and this. And so if everything goes right, I hope to make $78,750. If I don't hold it as long as 6 months, that money drops into profit. If I get a discount on any of the agent side, that money drops into profit. But the reason I like to plan for the maximal holding costs, maximum payout for agents is because if that happens and I just make this amount, I am happy with this amount. Anything else that comes is bonus. Because here's the scoop. On this deal, I got a painter. And my painter, let's just say, did some of the work, started stuff, etc. But what happened was we weren't happy with the quality of the work. I mean, you could tell this is a $500,000 house I'm going to want to try to sell. And the people who are going to be buying this are picky. Like if I'm selling $100,000 house, $40,000, people might not care that much about the paint. But when you're at this price point, people are extremely picky and they care a lot. And so what ended up happening was the quality of his work didn't fit the quality of the renovations I was wanting to do. And so my team, my designer, contractor head, like all of them were like, cut them. It wasn't until we were already $16,000 out that we ended up cutting him. We got another painter to come quote this job. He quoted it for $18,000. I got two original quotes to paint this house, $24,500 and then $26,000. So we went with the cheaper option, thinking they were going to be doing the best work they could ever do, and it did not end up being the best work they would ever do. And so the total we're going to be in on that paint is going to be $32,000 plus. So you can imagine, and we go back to this math, this $12K margin that I have has already been eaten up because the painter costed me $16K. So I'm actually eating up now into potential profit by $4,000. And that's if everything goes right and I sell it at the price point I want to sell it at the speed I want to sell it at. And so what you gotta do is look at your numbers, underwrite conservatively. What I mean by that is you want to project a lower ARV and you want to project a higher budget. I initially thought this rehab would be 70, but I borrowed more. And I'm pretty sure we're gonna hit 100,000. We still got a $20,000 roof to put on. We're spending $32,000 on paint. We got plumbing. I mean, it's just we got a whole bunch to do. So you want to just be conservative. Stick to your numbers as much as you can. Stick to 70%, because if 5% of the deal, which is, let's see what 5% is. If 5% of this deal is just, which is $26,000, that's a lot. So if 5% of this deal is eaten up because rehab went longer, or we had to put more into rehab for various reasons, or we had bad contractors, then I still can make this $52,000. And so you just want to be conservative. You want to work on those numbers. And I would just want to say this, the mindset I've had to get to be here has been a lot. I had a lot of changes, got into several different rooms, coaching programs, Pace Morby Owners Club. 2 years ago, I would not be wanting to do this house. In fact, before I even got this in the contract, I was looking to JV with someone, which is joint venture, and say, hey, can we work together? Like, can you teach me the ropes and all that? And it just didn't work out. I didn't really find someone I could trust. And I actually had another fix and flip I was doing that I built a ton of confidence with and from, that I said, it's just numbers. Just numbers. It's like $525,000. That's nothing. We could just keep going up or down. We just got to make sure our rehab's good, our timeline's good, and it'll be just fine. So what I want to say is, work foreclosure leads. They're the best leads. Get some negotiation skills. Don't be afraid to have hard conversations. And if you're good on your numbers, 70%, figure out your repairs. This number right here, it could be high or low. You should be fine. Hopefully, that's what I'm finding. It's fine for me. Hopefully, it's fine also for you. But stick to it. You never know how your life can change just putting in 12 months worth of work. So keep at it.